Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring in the 4-game NBA main slate on Thursday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the analysis, I do want to say thank you guys again for all support. Currently at 4.32 thousand subscribers, which is just crazy to think about. The growth has been insane since the NBA came back. Right now, all the content is free, so the easiest way to support me is just leave a like button on the video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell just so you know when I upload videos and you know when I go live. Also, if you cannot listen to, or if you cannot watch the videos, I do also upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. Before we get into the players and the prices for today's slate, what we can do is we're going to look back at my lineup here from Wednesday. So Wednesday, yep, I'm tilting a little bit. Let's go over my lineup, though. So we got Fred VanVleet, LeVert, OG, Royce O'Neal, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, Matisse, and Matisse Thybulle, and Lou Williams. So, yeah, I mean, I wanted that Brooklyn-Toronto game. Caris LeVert had, I believe, 34 at half, 34 fantasy points. He was on pace for almost 70. He could not hit a shot in the second half, and it was pissing me off because got like a 20% own LeVert, and he shot the ball 5 of 22. So I do not regret that play one bit. I knew the risk. I knew there was potential for a blowout. If the game stays close, which it did, and he just has a semi-decent shooting game, he goes for 60 fantasy points, at least. So I do not regret that. Just got a bit unlucky that he had one of his worst shooting days of his career. Fred VanVleet, I went back to the wall there. Almost 50 fantasy points. Cannot complain about that. OG was solid, not great, but not terrible. Royce O'Neal, I told you guys I was going back to the well there. The ownership dropped on him a lot after that last game. I was not worried. I told you guys we're not going to see 50, 10, and 10 from Donovan Mitchell again. There's more usage to go around with guys like O'Neal, Ingles, and Clarkson. Now, I did not play Jordan Clarkson, and I was reviewing this. I actually mentioned this to a couple people already. I think it was a process mistake on my part. 4.7 was still a little bit too cheap for Jordan Clarkson, just because, who else is going to score the ball besides Donovan Mitchell? Obviously, Joe Ingles kind of bit, but, Clarkson's going to pack the punch off the bench. I think I just kind of fell in love with Lou Williams. Now, we'll see how it goes with Lou. I just like the upside in Lou at 5.3, but I think me falling in love with that play kind of got me off Jordan Clarkson, which might have been a mistake. Now, with the Boston-Philly game, this is where I'm really tilting because can't predict blowout in a game where I don't know what the spread was. I think it was only a 4 or 5 point spread. Missed out on 6 minutes of Joel Embiid. That is absolutely massive. 6 minutes is like close to 12 fantasy points for him. So, yeah, really, really upset about that. The Boston guys, I said get one of those guys in with Kemba, Tatum, and Brown. Tatum, even in the blowout, still went for 50. Kemba, I think, went for 32. Brown went for 30. Again, missing out on 6 minutes is absolutely huge. It wasn't like Brown was going to put up an enormous game, but if the game stays close, he plays those final 6 minutes, he probably gets me, close to 40-ish or so. So, yeah, I can't predict a blowout like that. That's why I'm definitely tilting Thybulle. I think that was a mistake. I really fell in love with trying to get, looking at the slate, I really wanted to get one Toronto guy in paired with LeVert. I was going to play Royce no matter what. I was going to play Embiid no matter what. And I was going to play Lou no matter what. And again, I wanted one Boston guy. So really didn't leave me a lot of room. Yeah, Thybulle, I was just hoping for the blocks and steals, which he can get. Obviously, he got none of those. If we got 35 minutes out of Thybulle, I was hoping for a little bit more, but I knew the upside wasn't really there, so I think that could have been a mistake, too, on my part going to him. Like, there was guys with just a lot more upside for a little bit more, like a Clarkson for like $1,000 more. I probably should have just rearranged a couple things, so I think I made a couple mistakes today. I'm always open and honest with you guys. I think me not getting to Clarkson was a mistake. Not even trying to be results-oriented. I know Clarkson had a really good shooting day, but I think he was a correct play. He was higher owned in the higher dollar plays or in the tournament. So I think that was a mistake in my part. I think playing Thibault, hoping for blocks and steals, was also a mistake. So yeah, that's it. Again, I'm not going to cash the Philly Boston blowout. Really was the nail in the coffin. It was a promising start because LeVert had like 33 at low ownership, but then could not hit a shot in the second half. So that's it. That's a look back from me. Hope you guys had a little better day there. All right, let's take a look at this 4-game slate. So Heat and Pacers is the first game. It's a 215 over under. The Heat are 4-point favorites. Thunder Rockets is a 227.5 over under. Houston are 2.5-point favorites. Magic Bucks is a 227.5 over under. Bucks are 12.5-point favorites. And Portland Lakers, a late on hammer once again, 229 over under. Lakers are 6.5-point favorites. So a couple big pieces of news we're waiting for is the status of Victor Oladipo. He got poked in the eye. He missed the rest of the game. I assume he's probably going to be back. Also, we're waiting on Aaron Gordon's status. That is huge because if Aaron Gordon is out, it makes all those Magic value guys definitely in play once again. So let's get into the player by player breakdown now. So we'll start center. Anthony Davis is at 10.5. So I think the ownership is going to drop in him a lot. He had a really bad shooting day. He shot the ball 8 of 24. He had a floor game for a guy of his skill level in this type of matchup. Whereas LeBron, obviously, he carried me to winning that GPP the other night. So I think people always overreact to one game, right? We saw it today. Royce O'Neal had the bad game one. People hopped off ship. I said, do not fade Royce O'Neal. We're not going to see Donovan Mitchell go for 50, 10, and 10. Some people chase that game. We're not going to see AD shoot 8 of 24 again. So if he's going to shoot the ball 24 times once again, the upside is there. And people are just going to get to LeBron James. They're going to see that 70-plus fantasy point game and play LeBron and ignore AD. I think that is a mistake. I think AD flies under the radar, but I kind of like buying low on guys after a bad game, right? The ownership is definitely going to go to LeBron, and I still like LeBron a lot. But I don't hate the idea of going to AD after a bad game one in hopes that he just has a semi-decent shooting day. If that's the case, we know the upside is absolutely massive on Anthony Davis. So I have interest in him. And I think he goes low owned in this one. Nurkic is at 9K. It's a little bit tricky. He has been up and down, really up and down. I don't know if I can prioritize him. Once again, for me, it's going to be the Lakers studs, it's going to be Harden, and it's going to be Giannis. It's hard for me to get to the guys right below them. Now, if you're going more of a balanced build, which I think will be contrarian, then you can maybe consider him. But hard for me to consider Nurkic at this price. Maybe just more of a late slate play, possibly. I love playing Yusuf Nurkic. You guys knew I was super high on him going in when the return of the bubble, but I just can't do it on this slate at 9K. Vucevic had the enormous game. He went for 62 fantasy points in 36 minutes. I'd pump the brakes a bit. I know he went absolutely off, but I think this is kind of the same situation as Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell actually had an insane third quarter to salvage his day. I think he actually still got close to value or even got value. Do not expect 62 again. I know, Orlando's best shot of keeping this close or winning like they did last game is for a big game out of Nikola Vucevic. But I don't know. I think the ownership will be inflated on him a bit. So I'm going to pass for now. I just like the value better on the Magic still than I do to getting up to Vucevic. Now, Bam Adebayo is a guy I can get behind at 7.5K. The minutes went up on him. The minutes were down on him in the regular season about 30. He played 35 in this one. Went for 17, 10, 6, and 3 blocks. It's really him and Jimmy Butler that look pretty solid here. If I was going to build a balanced lineup, which is not out of the question, right? There's some pretty good plays in the mid-tier. I think I would probably start it with either Bam or Jimmy. Could you use both? Yeah, you could use both. These the two Miami guys I think look really good in the mid-range. It's just, how do you want to go about roster construction? Do you want to go more stars and scrubs? Or do you want to go more of the balance approach? I think actually either is viable. I slightly lean towards the stars and scrubs just because the stars, in my opinion, have huge upside, right? Harden without Westbrook. You have the two Lakers guys in an amazing spot. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo after a Game 1 loss. I feel like he's going to come out even angrier and just put up like a huge game. So, Turner's at 6'8". I'm just not doing it. Just would rather get to Bam and Adebayo for a little bit more. Now, Steven Adams is actually viable. I was a little bit worried they might limit his minutes against a small ball team. He still played 28, which is about average for him this year. So he's a guy that can get you there. Probably still not going to get to him, but I think he's in play. Brook Lopez was the absolute chalk that last game. I fortunately was not on him. He went 30 minutes, 15 fantasy points. Really, really floor game for him. The issue with Brook Lopez is he's not a guy that's going to get a lot of rebounds most of the time. Like, he stands in the corner and he's like a shooting three. Like, they'll spread the court, right? So he's not a guy that's going to get a lot of rebounds. So he does kind of have to hit his threes. This one's tricky. The price went up him a bit too. The ownership will obviously drop after letting a lot of people down. But, Brolo was pretty solid in the, since coming back from the bubble. Right? He put up a 46 fantasy point game against Houston, 49 against Dallas. The upside is there. So this one's a tricky one. Probably not going to get to him, but he will be pretty low owned. Now, Whiteside intrigues me at 4.9, especially with no Zach Collins. He played 26 minutes. They use a lot of him and Nurkic together. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but Whiteside's a pretty solid point per minute guy. So if we expect 25-ish minutes from him, I think he actually looks okay here. So I have a little bit of interest in Whiteside. Jeff Green's at 4.8. I know he had a really good shooting day. He shot the ball 8 of 12. I'll just let others chase it. We're not going to get that again, most likely, from Jeff Green. Baisley, I think, only played 17 minutes. He was solid in that time, but right now he's just not getting enough time for me to consider him at 4.5. I'm not going to get to PJ Tucker either. Kelly Olynyk. So I'll talk about the Miami rotation. Really, it looks like they're just giving, again, Bam, Jimmy big minutes, Dragic, and Hero big minutes. And the other four guys are left to kind of scrap for that last spot in the rotation. Like Kellyo, Duncan Robinson, Iguodala, Derrick Jones Jr. So those Miami value guys don't look as good now because the minutes are just going down on them, and the minutes on Hero went way up. So I don't know if we can expect that again, but makes Hero a lot more viable and the other Miami value a little bit uglier. Dwight McGee, they're going to play about 15 minutes each. They're solid point per minute guys. We know Portland runs big. I thought maybe they might get a few extra minutes here, but they did not. So, yeah, I think they're okay punts. The Magic value might have a little bit more upside just because they're going to play more minutes than Dwight and McGee. But if you really need a salary saver at center, I don't hate the idea of punting with Dwight or JaVale McGee. And I punted with McGee last other slate actually worked out for me. 13 minutes, 18 fantasy points. And then finally, the last guy I'll mention is Gary Clark. He's 3-3, so he played 28 minutes. The floor is pretty low on him, but if Aaron Gordon's out again and he starts, I think we get mid-20s minutes from him. For a guy this cheap, I think he's certainly in play, and a guy you can for sure consider in your stars and scrubs build if that's the way you want to go. I will also mention Markieff Morris. Now, this is a risky play. It's a really risky play because you can never trust the Lakers' rotations, but he did get 19 minutes that last game. Can you expect that again? I don't know. Deion Waiters wasn't in the rotation. They could move him in because they need some more scoring. Maybe leave Markieff Morris out. So there's no even guarantee that he plays. It's just a strictly probably a 1% owned dart throw because Morris is a guy that is a pretty solid offensive player. And if we get 20 minutes out of him in a good matchup, he could be in play. But just be warned, I think there's still an outside chance maybe he doesn't even play. I will mention Khem Birch too. He's min-price, so not going to play a lot, but 15-ish minutes from Khem Birch. He had a floor game for his standards that last game, 14 minutes, 7 fantasy points. Normally he's a pretty solid point per minute guy. I think he's in play as a punt if you really, really need it. 15 minutes, 15 fantasy points is not out of the question for him. Obviously, you're not going to feel great about it, but I think it's worth a shot. So let's move on to power forward. Giannis Antetokounmpo's at 11.3. So he was on pace to absolutely crush before basically fading away in the fourth quarter and not doing anything. The price came up on him, but I still think he's in play. Again, he was on pace to really crush that game. They lost game one. I think he's going to want to come out even more aggressive here. So you're going to have to make a tough decision on this slate. It's the Lakers studs, it's Harden, it's Giannis. All those guys look really good. So getting the studs right is going to be key. But like I said, you're going to have to make a tough choice on who you're going to fade of those guys. Let's see. Other options. Yeah, TJ Warren's at 8-1. This play's only dependent on, or this play's strictly dependent on Victor Oladipo. If Oladipo's out, then it makes guys like TJ Warren, guys like Malcolm Brogdon, a lot more interesting. If Victor Oladipo plays at 8-1 for Warren, probably wouldn't get to him. I mean, I know he's been playing pretty well in the bubble, but hard for me to prioritize him at 8-1 when you have the Miami guys for less. You have Jimmy Butler for less, you have Bam Adebayo for less. They just, in my opinion, look better and are safer options. So Aaron Gordon, this is key. This will change the slate if he plays because that will take a lot of the Magic value out of play. Aaron Gordon's a pretty high usage guy in this offense. He will be their number 2. So if he does play, that really takes a hit to the Magic value. And then, the stars and scrubs approach becomes even more difficult because there's not, besides the Magic value, there's really not a whole lot of great value plays on the slate. So if Aaron Gordon plays, it might force my hand to build a balanced lineup. So, yeah, this is key. This is literally will change the entire slate. The bad thing is this game's at 6 p.m. So we might not get this news until way later. So this is going to be a headache in my opinion. Tricky one. Gallinari's at 6'6". The minutes did go up to him to 33. I just don't know if I want to pay 6'6" for him. I would rather get to the OKC guards, in my opinion. Kuzma's at 6'5". I don't think I can do it. Maybe more of like a late slate play for me. Roko's at 6K. What you're going to get out of him is the minutes. He's just, if he doesn't hit those corner threes, he does kind of have a low floor. So one of those plays that I'm okay with in the mid-range. I'm not super excited. Kind of the same thing with Melo. He's basically out there to hit his threes. I think he's fine at 5'9", but not my favorite play. I'm not going to 4-7 house. James Ennis, again, this is dependent on Aaron Gordon news. If Aaron Gordon's out, I have interest in James Ennis, who played 31 minutes, went for 31 fantasy points. I think he would be a very viable punt. There would be a lot of Orlando Magic guys that would be certainly in play for value if Aaron Gordon's out. So, yeah, that's strictly tied to whether Aaron Gordon plays or not. Crowder, did he get injured that game? I don't think so. Maybe he's just dealing with that ankle injury. So, like I said, the Heat rotation is a little bit tricky now because the minutes went to Bam, obviously, and Jimmy. Dragic played big minutes. I think he played like mid-30s, and Hero played mid-30s minutes. So it's Crowder, it's Duncan Robinson, it's Kelly Olynyk, it's Derrick Jones Jr. that are fighting for that last spot in the rotation and not a whole lot of minutes to go around. So the Miami Heat value, like those guys, become a lot riskier if those like main 4 guys, which I mentioned, are just going to get the bulk of the minutes. We do have Zach Collins out once again. Wenyen Gabriel's 3-3, so I was a little bit worried about his minutes. He still played, 16 minutes, which is actually not terrible for a punt. Probably would just prefer the Magic value if, obviously, Aaron Gordon's out. So, and then finally, I don't think McDermott played a lot of minutes, did he? He only played 17 minutes. Probably can't do that. I think that about wraps it up. So let's move on to small forward. Obviously, we have LeBron at 10-9. He is going to garner a lot of ownership after that big game. I got him at low ownership last slate. I don't think it's going to happen again this slate because people are just going to chase. I'm not saying LeBron James is a bad play at all. I just think the ownership will go up on him a lot. I really like LeBron. It's just you have to make tough decisions on the slate with the stars. And if Aaron Gordon gets ruled out, again, it might force my hand to have to go balance with the lack of then value. So, yeah, there's not a lot of bad things to say about the stars, right? AD and LeBron are an amazing matchup against Portland. That game was pretty low scoring, too. It was, what was the final score? 100-93. Portland plays 0 defense. I would expect that game to be played at a lot faster pace in game 2, so even more upside for guys like LeBron and AD. Yeah, I really do like the Lakers stars. Jimmy Butler, he's at 7-9. So if I'm going to go balance, I'm going to start my lineup with either Jimmy or Bam Adebayo. 37 minutes for him, 48 fantasy points. He's a do-it-all guy. If Aaron Gordon gets rolled in, I might even play both Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo because they look really, really good in the mid-range. So really like the 2 Miami stars there. Middleton's at 7-2. This is an interesting buy low candidate. Normally, I don't really like getting to Middleton when Giannis plays. Obviously, he's playing into the playoffs, but yeah, he really struggled. 4 of 12. Middleton has had upside games when Giannis has played. 53, 50, 45. So I have interest in him as a GPP play. If he's shooting the ball well, like the upside is there with Chris Middleton. Oladipo, so this is pretty big news. I think he's going to go. He went through the walkthrough. They're listing him as game time decision. I think he'll play. If he does play, I think Oladipo himself at 6'2" is solid in the mid-range. Someone I would consider if I was going more balanced. But if he's out, then it's Brogdon and it's TJ Warren. They get a really big boost. Would obviously make like potential value in like Aaron Holiday and Edmund Sumner. So Eric Gordon's at 4.9. The price actually dropped on him a bit. He was 5.5 last week, 4.9. So he is the number 2 right now with no Russell Westbrook. My issue with Eric Gordon is he is scoring dependent. He did have 4 assists and 3 rebounds. That's actually a little bit more of an outlier for him. Normally, like a stat line for him was like 20 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. So I think he's solid at a price of under 5K. Again, he is going to be the number 2. My concern is if he's not shooting the ball well, the floor is low on him. Terrence Ross at 4.8. This is dependent on Aaron Gordon news. It really is. Now, he did only play 28 minutes, which did worry me a bit. I thought we would have got a few extra minutes from him, like maybe into the 30s. Price coming up a bit on him. He is also pretty scoring dependent, so he does have a low floor for shots not falling. But if Aaron Gordon's out, again, I think this magic value is certainly viable. Gary Trent Jr. is at 4.8, played 31 minutes. Like I've mentioned with him so many times, he has to hit his threes. If not, look at that floor, 7 fancy points. He made me look dumb when he went on that stretch of like 3 or 4 games where he just could not miss. People kept asking me about Gary Trent. I was like, do not play Trent. The shot's not falling, he won't get you there. And he kept making me look dumb. Finally, he's coming back down to earth with like 10, 18, and then 7 fancy points the last game. Price only dropped $400. I mean, yeah, he's gonna play big minutes. He literally has to hit the 3. So I guess it's okay. But you're really banking on him shooting well to get you there. Like I would just rather get to a guy like Eric Gordon, right? Because Gary Trent Jr. is playing along high usage guys like the 2 guards in Lillard and CJ, and Nurkic and Melo. Like he is like the 5th guy in the offense. Whereas Eric Gordon is the number 2 in the offense. That's why I would just, and they're at almost an identical price. Just prefer getting to Eric Gordon over a guy like Gary Trent. KCP, oh man, this Lakers value is just, whew. He shot the ball 0 of 9. Him, Danny Green, they are 3-and-D guys. Play them at your own risk. If they do not hit their shots, 5 to 10 fancy points is a realistic outcome for them. If they hit their shots, they can get you 15 to 20. Don't feel great about it, so play them at your own risk. Justin Holiday, how many minutes did he get? He did play 32. He would become a viable punt if Oladipo's out. My worry is he is just a very, very low usage guy in the offense. So, but I think he would be in play if Oladipo is not available. Danny Green's at 3.9, same thing as I said at KCP. The exact same thing. The 3-and-D guys, they have to hit their threes. If they do not, they have a floor of like 5 to 10 fancy points. Edmund Sumner, I think he started for Oladipo, played 27 minutes. Yeah, I mean him, Justin Holiday. I guess you could consider those guys if Oladipo's out. The Milwaukee value, I think they ran like an 11-man rotation. I just can't get to any of the Milwaukee value guys. Iguodala, like I said, with other Miami Heat guys, he played 25 minutes. He had a pretty low game for his standards. Like, I think you could consider Iguodala if we get 25 minutes again. I would not expect 4 points and 1 rebound and 2 blocks. Like, he's a guy that can get you like five assists, 5 boards, and like 8 points or something like that. So I think he's okay for value. Yeah, Hazonia didn't get. I think he only played 12 minutes. He's not in play. That's it, really. Yeah, Derrick Jones Jr., he played a few minutes, but not enough for me to consider. Yeah, 13. Not enough. So, all right, let's move on to shooting guard. Harden, I'll just keep it quick. There's really not a whole lot of downside to say about him. The upside is massive. He had a floor game for his standards. Like 58 with no Russell Westbrook in the playoffs is his absolute floor, in my opinion. He has the upside for 80 fantasy points. So, I like James Harden. It's just what do you have to sacrifice to get him in there? If Aaron Gordon is in, then the value on the slate becomes really risky and almost forces your hand to go balanced. CJ's at 7-7. I'm not going to do it. Maybe a late slate play, but I'm not paying 7-7 for CJ. The OKC guards besides CP3. So they had absolute floor games. I don't know. I really don't know what's happened to SGA. He was a really, really good player going in the break, and he has just not looked good since coming back. The price continues to drop to 6-3. It's just an interesting buy low opportunity, but still, I still don't know if I can do it. I would probably rather get to Schroeder for less if I was going to take a shot on one of the cheap guards. Schroeder's at 5-5. He also had an absolutely terrible game. I would rather get to Schroeder for the almost $1,000 difference. I mean, all three guards are going to play huge minutes, right? Because it just matched up well against Houston. They're a small ball team anyway. So OKC can run all three of the guards out there. I think Schroeder will have a bounce back game. I feel a little bit more confident in him right now than I do SGA. So I would rather get to Schroeder than SGA. And I actually do have a good amount of interest in Schroeder. He is someone that, if Aaron Gordon plays, would kind of fit into a nice balanced build, like one of those Heat guys, Schroeder. But again, that's kind of where I would probably start. Maybe CP3 too would look pretty good. So, I have interest there in Schroeder. SGA probably would just lean again to Dennis Schroeder. Now, not Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero at 5-2. Can we expect 34 minutes out of him again? I don't know. But it's good to see, they feel pretty confident right now in giving him minutes. Again, it's going to be Hero, it's Dragic, it's Jimmy Butler, and it's Bam Adebayo that are getting the big run right now from Miami. I think he's in play at 5-2. He'll run the backup point a little bit too when Dragic's not out there. I'm fine with Tyler Hero. He's a guy that can score the ball. If he's shooting the ball well, he could definitely go for 35-plus fantasy points. So I have a little bit of interest there in him for sure if he continues to play over 30 minutes. Fournier's at 5-1. He is similar to Terrence Ross, but he's going to play a little bit more minutes. He had he only shot the ball 8 times. That actually is a little bit surprising with no Aaron Gordon. Fournier is a guy that, when shooting well, can have those upside games, so I don't mind him. Again, that's just dependent, though, on whether or not Aaron Gordon plays. Nunn is completely out of the rotation. Do not play Kendrick Nunn. Aaron Holiday's at 4K. Only played 16 minutes the last game, so looks like they're more comfortable right now giving the minutes to Sumner and Justin Holiday, which are both kind of gross plays. I kind of just hope Oladipo plays so I don't have to consider the Pacers' value. Don't play Rivers at 3-8. Not going to Macklemore at 3-7. Waiters, I think only played 1 minute. Something has to change for the Lakers. KCP and Danny Green cannot hit shots. I think Dion Waiters is your guy that, give him minutes because he can score the ball. He can help scoring. So this is a super, super risky play, obviously, because he only played 1 minute last game. But I think he will be back in the rotation this game. That's just my guess. I'm not 100% sure, but they really struggled shooting the ball. Dion Waiters is a guy that can score. I think he should get minutes here. We'll see. That's like a dart throw in GPPs, but if we get 20 minutes out of Dion Waiters, he would be a really solid value play. Again, I'm not considering the Milwaukee value. I think Wes Matthews might have had a decent game at 21. I'm just not doing it. All right, point guard to wrap it up. So Lillard's at 11K. 1 for 51 fantasy points. It's hard for me to prioritize him over Harden and the Lakers studs and Giannis. Like I said in the last video, it just really is. Maybe a guy I could consider in the late slate, but I just can't do it on the regular or on the main slate. Chris Paul's at 8K. I like him quite a bit here. Revenge spot, I was really high on him last slate. He went for 37 minutes, 51 fantasy points, almost a triple-double. He had a slow start to that game, too. So I really like Chris Paul. If Aaron Gordon gets rolled in, I'm probably going to go balanced. And I'm probably going to start my lineup with one of those Miami guys and probably one of those OKC guards. Probably CP3. Or even Schroeder, or both. So, right, that's where I would lean for a balanced build. Brogdon, this is dependent right now on Oladipo news. He shot the ball terribly, 6 of 18, still went for 40 fantasy points. If Oladipo is out, we're going to get almost 40 minutes from Brogdon, and his upside goes way up. So I would like him quite a bit if Victor Oladipo cannot go. Goran Dragic, the price went up at him to 5.9. But hear me out, I still think he's in play. The ownership will drop on him, obviously, because the price went up. But if we get 35 minutes out of Goran Dragic, like, he's a really solid point per minute guy. And he can do it all, right? Rebounds, assists. He's a good scorer. He's a good shooter. I have interest in Dragic, even at 5'9". Bledsoe's at 5'3". So another guy that I would like quite a bit for a more of a balanced build. He had a tough day for his standards. 28 minutes, 28 fancy points. I just think Milwaukee's want to come out and really play well this game. So, like, I have interest in these guys. I like Eric Bledsoe quite a bit at 5'3". The upside is really high on him when playing well. So, yeah, I just think that price is too cheap. I have a good amount of interest in him at that price. And then we get to the Magic value. So you guys knew the last slate. I was super high on both Magic point guards. I said those are my two favorite value. Fultz, 29 minutes, 27 fancy points. DJ Augustine went for 23 minutes and 34 fancy points. This is kind of tied to Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon's out, I have interest in both point guards once again. Now, it was a little bit worrisome that Augustine only played 23 minutes. I thought they'd run more of him and Fultz together out there. They did not. So that worries me with playing both of them. But yeah, I would consider probably trying to get one of those point guards in there if Aaron Gordon is out. George Hill's at 4K. He would be the one Milwaukee guy I would consider for value. Right, because if Aaron Gordon gets ruled in, then there's not a whole lot of great value on the slate. A potential value play would be George Hill for about 25 or so minutes. Alex Caruso, how many minutes did he? He still played 29 minutes. And if we get 29 minutes again, would be a viable punt. Hasn't really been great, but I think he's at least in consideration. How many minutes did McConnell play? He only played 13. I mean, he's a good point per minute guy, but the Pacers just don't seem to want to give this guy minutes. Was Frank Mason in the rotation? No, he was not. I didn't think he was. All right. That's really it, guys. So, yeah, this slate is tricky. If Aaron Gordon plays, and we're not going to know that most likely until later, there is not a lot of great value plays. Again, it might force my hand to build balance. Right now, I want to do the stars and scrubs because the upside is absolutely enormous on guys like Harden, the Lakers stars, and Giannis. But if there's not, the value plays aren't there, I will just have to go balanced approach. So I think it's going to wrap it up for the video, guys, today. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. I will be live streaming for this one 30 minutes before lock, so be sure to check out the live stream, guys. I will go over everything. Team by team breakdown, go over the news that we have so far, cash plays, GPP plays, give you guys a core, and then answer any questions you have at the end. So thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a good night, and I will see you all in the live stream tomorrow.